The small town of Ravenswood had always been known for its eerie atmosphere and dark secrets, but for the residents it was just another quiet place to call home. That is, until the disappearances began. It started with small things, pets going missing, items from people's homes turning up in strange places. But soon, people began to vanish as well. The townspeople were on edge, unsure of who or what was behind the disappearances. The police were stumped, and the town's residents were starting to turn on each other. As the tension in Ravenswood grew, a group of friends of Alex, Sarah, and Jake decided to investigate the disappearances themselves. They were determined to get to the bottom of the mystery before anyone else they knew vanished. Their investigation led them to an old abandoned house on the outskirts of town. The house had been vacant for years, and the friends had always been too scared to go near it. But now they had no choice. As they entered the house, they were immediately struck by the musty smell and the thick layer of dust that coated everything. They made their way through the dark, musty rooms, searching for any clues that might lead them to the source of the disappearances. As they searched, they began to hear strange noises coming from the shadows, shuffling footsteps, whispering voices. They tried to ignore the eerie sounds, focusing instead on their search. But the longer they stayed in the house, the more the noises grew louder and more persistent. And soon the friends realized that they were not alone in the house. They started to run, but the house seemed to come alive around them, the walls shifting and twisting in the darkness. They were trapped, and they knew that whatever was in the house with them was not human. They fought to stay alive as the thing in the house hunted them through the dark, musty rooms. They were injured and exhausted, but they refused to give up. As they stumbled through the house, they finally came across a door that led to the basement. They hesitated for a moment, unsure if they should continue their descent, but they knew they had to find a way out. As they made their way down the creaky stairs, they were greeted by a sight that chilled them to the bone. In the dim light, they saw row after row of jars filled with a thick, dark liquid, and floating inside each jar was a human eye. They were horrified, but they also knew that they had finally found the source of the disappearances. They realized that the thing in the house had been capturing and keeping the townspeople as some sort of twisted trophy. With no other options, they decided to try to destroy the jars and put an end to the creature's reign of terror. They smashed the jars one by one, with the liquid splashing everywhere, the eyes popping out and rolling on the ground. But as they worked, they heard a terrible screeching coming from the shadows. They knew that the creature was coming for them, and they had to act fast. With their hearts pounding, they fought to keep the monster at bay as they destroyed the last of the jars. Finally, the last jar shattered, and the creature let out a final scream before it dissipated into the darkness. The friends were able to get out of the house and went to the police station. They were able to explain, and the police were able to get the evidence from the house. The police were able to capture the monster, who was revealed to be a rogue scientist who had been performing illegal experiments on the townspeople and had been keeping their eyes as trophies. The town was in shock, and the friends were hailed as heroes. But the trauma of what they had experienced stayed with them, and they were haunted by the memory of the monster and the horrors they had witnessed in the abandoned house. They were also plagued by guilt, knowing that they had been the only ones who had tried to stop the monster and that they had been too late to save many of their friends and neighbors. But even though they had put an end to the creature's reign of terror, the friends knew that the darkness of Ravenswood would never truly be gone. They knew that the town would always be haunted by the memory of the monster and the lives that had been lost. And as they looked out at the dark and eerie town, they couldn't help but wonder what other secrets and horrors Ravenswood was hiding. After that night, the three friends never talked about what happened in the abandoned house again. They knew that it was something that they would have to live with for the rest of their lives. But they also knew that they were the only ones who could keep the memory of what happened alive. Years passed and the friends grew apart, but they never forgot that night in Ravenswood. The town continued to be shrouded in mystery, and the disappearances never fully explained. But the friends knew that the monster was finally gone, and that was all that mattered. However, as the years went by, strange occurrences started happening again, people disappearing, strange noises at night, and pets going missing. The friends started to suspect that the monster they had encountered might not be truly gone. They decided to come back to Ravenswood and investigate once again. As they entered the abandoned house, they were hit by a sense of déjà vu. The musty smell and thick layer of dust were still there, but this time it felt different, more sinister. They made their way through the dark, musty rooms, but this time they were not alone. They could feel something watching them, following them. They found a hidden door in the basement, which led to an underground laboratory. They couldn't believe their eyes. The lab was still active, and it was clear that the monster had never truly gone away. It had been hiding, waiting to strike again. They knew they had to stop it once and for all, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. They could hear the monster getting closer and closer, and they knew that it was only a matter of time before it caught them. But just when all hope seemed lost, they discovered a secret weapon, a serum that the scientist had been working on, which would neutralize the monster's powers. They quickly administered the serum, and the monster let out a final scream before collapsing to the ground. The friends were able to get out of the house and went to the police station. They were able to explain, and the police were able to get the evidence from the house. The police were able to capture the monster, who was revealed to be the same rogue scientist they had encountered years ago. This time, the monster was truly gone, and the friends knew that the town would finally be at peace. However, memory of the monster and the horrors they had witnessed would stay with them forever. The end.